Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I am Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Teach the Teacher. This is a brand new show for us. It's our second episode, and we welcome you and we thank you for joining with us in the conversation by putting comments and questions for our panel to answer and to discuss. My co-host is joining me from Africa. His name is MIKE ADEYEMO, and there is a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to be bringing him out, and then we'll welcome our guests. MIKE, welcome to the show. Okay. While MIKE is getting the technology ready, I'm going to welcome our guests. Our guests are certainly very accomplished and have a personal and professional connection when it comes to education and also inspiring other people. They are here today to share their story and also what it means to be part of a community that gives back and helps other people learn effectively. Let's welcome Dr. Shauli and let's welcome Dave. Nice to have you.
Good morning, JACALYN. Thank you for having us.
Hi, thank you. Where are you both joining us from today?
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
I love it there. Dr. Shauli?
I'm joining from India.
Wow, fabulous. What time is it there?
Well, it's almost 9 p.m.
Well, thank you both for taking the time. I love the fact that we have a global platform and people are in all different time zones. Sometimes people are up in the middle of the night joining us. So I thank both of you. So our show, as you know, is Teach the Teacher. And the education system has certainly changed so much. I personally just shake my head every day. I have a master's and a doctorate, and I feel like I never learned anything until I went out on my own last year and started my own business. There's so many things that you actually don't learn in school that you learn as a result of working with other people. So before we start our conversation, I want to spotlight each of you and have you share with our audience, especially people who are joining for the first time, or maybe they're getting to know you for the first time. Who are you? What is it that you do? I'd love to start with Dr. Shauli.
Yes. So this is Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, a passionate academician, a global thought leader, and an internationally acclaimed inspirational speaker from India. So it has been more than 23 years now that I have been associated with the education sector. I have been the principal as well as the founder principal of some of the reputed international schools in West Bengal, India. Few of them have been started by me and have been established by me. I would definitely like to name among them Adamas World School and STEM World School. The why STEM World School? Because STEM World School happens to be the first STEM school in the entire West Bengal region of India, which was eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region of India by Education World in 2016, which also happens to be my brainchild. So after spending more than 20 years in the field of school leadership and management, right now I'm connected and associated with the higher education domain, where presently I'm the director of School of Education at one of the premier universities of Eastern India. Additionally, I'm associated with premier educational organizations across India as well as globally in senior advisory position and role. So, this is in short, professionally, something that I have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your passion and your commitment. Dave, over to you. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. My name is Dave Sanderson, and I've had over 35 years of sales and sales management experience, and I've been very fortunate to be a top place I've been to, but I'm a speaker, an author, and a mentor. And how it really came about for me, Dr. JACALYN, was back in 2009. I was on a business trip in New York City, and I was involved in one of the survivors of the plane crash known as the Miracle on the Hudson. Experience, it gave me a platform and an opportunity not only go out and speak about the mindset of how to survive a plane crash, but really the mindset of personal leadership and how it affects young people and how that affects people and not only entrepreneurs and in business. And I was very fortunate in 1984, after I got out of college, to have someone come into my life, a mentor, his name was, who started teaching me the mindset of success. He founded his business of over 80 movie theaters, restaurants in 1929. And for 13 years, he taught me the mindset of success. But in 1997, Dr. JACALYN, he called me to his office. He told me he had lung cancer, and he passed along some of these handwritten notes he wrote in 1929 from his mentor about the mindset of success and personal leadership. And I made a promise to him that I would not let it die with me. So over the last several years since the plane crash, I've been not only teaching these lessons that he taught me, but in addition to what I learned by being the head of security for a gentleman named Tony Robbins. So I was been very blessed to be able to learn. And I'm a constant learner. And I work a lot with high school, college, and I speak to many entrepreneurs and folks in business about not only how to mindset success, but how to turn whatever challenge you may be having, whether it's whether it's a plane crash, a car accident, a health situation, and turn that turmoil you may be having, which we're all having some right now, into triumph. And that's a little bit of what I do and why I'm blessed to be here.
Thank you, Dave. Wow, that's really inspirational. I'm so excited to have both of you here. We actually have another guest who's joined us. Let's bring him out. Eric. Hi, Eric. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It's nice to have you. And we're just going around. Everyone's introducing themselves. So I'm going to spotlight you. And if you can share with our audience, maybe they're not familiar with you or they're tuning in for the first time, who is Eric and what is the value you bring to this beautiful world?
Sure. Well, thank you so much. My name is Eric Stoller. I'm the president of a company called Champion Mindset Events and Champion Mindset Media Group. I've spent the past almost 30 years of my career working with some well-known names like Brian Tracy, Les Brown, folks that are no longer with us like Jim Rohn and Og Mandino. And I started off my career promoting their seminars all over the United States and Canada and helping thousands of people in sales and management skills. And then we also, later on in my career, I had the opportunity to work directly with Les Brown, running his Les Brown Speaking Institute for quite a few years, where we trained thousands of people. So I've had the unique opportunity to sit on the side of a speaker but also on the side as a promoter and to really help people kind of understand what does it take to get to that top level of success. And it all starts why our company is called Champion Mindset, with an amazing mindset, because I think what most people don't realize, you can have amazing, great ideas. And just like, you can be a great salesperson, but if your mindset is incorrect, if your belief levels aren't correct, you're not going to accomplish and reach your full potential. So part of what we do as Champion is we help people learn, network, and grow. We give them opportunities to get coached. We give them opportunities to network at high levels. In fact, we have our next live event in Florida coming up at the Four Seasons Hotel, and we also run them, virtually. But I've learned one thing from my mentors at Brian Tracy and Les and others. You got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to adapt. You got to be willing to know that every day is a new day. And, as the adage says, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. So we got to live in the present, and that's the gift. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, or they get caught up in their story. So part of what we do, Dr. JACALYN, is also work with people in kind of crafting their message and their story. And whether you're going to be on television, you're going to write a book, you're going to speak, do you have a concise way to tell your story, tell the world who you are? And my experience is most people, they're kind of all over the place with it. So we want to help them get focused, and we've done that for so long. And as an entrepreneur, knowing the ups and downs of what it takes to run a successful business, we go through in my company, go through challenges, product launches, and things may not go the way you want. So instead of panicking, it's that constant correction, just as the gentleman said about being on the Hudson, and the captain saved everybody's life because he handled that situation like nobody else could. So I like to help set people up that they can take full advantage of the unique selling proposition and utilize our champion mindset platform as a way to help elevate their success by tapping into these amazing experts that I've spent the last 30 years of my life getting to become friends with, learn from, and then share with, tens of thousands of people all over the world. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm based here in beautiful Miami, Florida, where we're having it's only about 80 degrees right now. So for anybody in cold weather, I do apologize. But I'm only wearing a sweater because I'm indoors and it's cold in the house.
Well, thank you, Eric. I'm actually in Boca, by the way. So
all right.
I have to say, this is an incredible panel. I'm sorry that Mike isn't with us because he's missing out on this, but I welcome each of you to come back for your own show because there's so much here. And I know we're not going to get to it in the time that we have, but let's start off with the first question. Dr. Shauli, you had mentioned about the evolution of the education system, where it was, where we are, where it's going. What would you like our audience to know about that? And then the rest of us will jump in.
Well, Dr. JACALYN, after spending so many years in the field of education, what I strongly and firmly believe is the fact that our histories have changed, our geographies have changed, but sadly enough and unfortunately, our education system has not changed. So our education system is still essentially the same and essentially rather the byproduct of the 19th century industrial revolution, which still continues to promote a one-size-fits-all educational structure. What I normally, call this kind of a system, I call this the factory model of productivity, but still views the young children and the learners as essentially the finished products of this redundant and decadent education system, but still denies the fact that each and every child is born with a unique blueprint, with a unique ability to create a unique world of difference around him or her. The system unfortunately denies the very fact that the child or the children, they have their individual talents, they have their individual passion, and they have their individual interest. So, what I strongly feel is that there is an urgent need for redefining and reimagining our current education system. In fact, the need is there for a complete paradigm shift from a too structured, too formalized kind of an education system to a kind of a system which is more open, more flexible, more productive, and essentially a stress-free teaching learning ecosystem, which is the need of the hour. You know why? Because our conventional educational norms, they force our young learners to metaphorically draw and color within the lines. That is to conform and to comply and never ever to create or to innovate. So it's something absolutely natural that the children who are born, creative and inquisitive right from birth, they actually struggle miserably to realize their true potential when put under the shackles of such a kind of a decadent education system. So I feel, and I have always felt while I have been working in the education sector, that nothing, in fact, nothing short of a revolution is going to work for our current education system. So even if we are thinking about, minor tweaks or changes here and there, it's not going to work because we cannot just do a complete service to our young generation of learners by mending a broken model of our education system. So what is required is a complete revolution. So only by doing this, we can actually serve the needs and demands of our 21st century learners the Generation Z, because the world that we live in is the 21st century VUCA world, right? It's a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So the learning needs, demands, and styles of each and every child is so very different. So how can we still have a kind of a system which treats everyone and essentially the same? So I believe that there is a need for a complete transformation.
Thank you, Doctor. Wow, very passionate. I love the analogies, the blueprint, factory workers, the fact that it's sort of cookie cutter. Everyone's conforming to the same set of rules, but yet we're all individuals, but not treated as such. Eric, Dave, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. Thank you very much, Dr. Shauli, for that. I tend to agree. I think one of the challenges I see when I get the opportunity to speak to high schools and college age students is they've grown up like I grew up, and where education was based on agribusiness, where you go in, you do your job, you go home, go back to the farm, and it's so confined in the way they teach. And it's been taught that way since I grew up in the 60s all the way to today. But what I find when I speak to my millennial friends and Gen Z, they are 10 times smarter than I was back at that age, but they lack guidance. They lack a mission. They lack a purpose. They're looking for that help because they've been so confined. I mean, I feel like the kids that I talk to, they come to me as like, how did you become what you became? I'm like, because I thought outside the box. I didn't conform to what I was told to conform to. I grew up with mentors, like I mentioned, my mentor Bill, and then my time being mentored by a person by Tony Robbins and people like that think outside the box. So, I really try to help people focus that, everybody's going to go through challenges in life, what I call the turmoils in life. And you learn in education that there's like one or two ways to get things fixed. But as you learn later in life, I'll give you an example. I was on the plane. The plane crashed into the river. Yes, the captain did a tremendous job getting us down, but now we have to get out of the plane. The plane is filling in with water, and it's already waist level deep where I'm at. It's chest level deep further back in the plane. And mindset would say, based on education, that you go to the aisle, you go up, and you get out. And that's what we're taught. We're taught structure. This is what you do. But what you realize is that one of the key attributes of people these days is the ability to be resourceful. And all of a sudden, when I got to the aisle, all of a sudden you looked up and people were walking down seats. And this and that. So now instead of having one option, you created choices. And that's one of the things I think that in the education right now, we got to help these young people, with millennials, Gen Z, the younger generation, understand there are choices in life. And the goal is to be able to pick the best choice for the situation at hand. So, that's one of the things I think we're lacking in education right now. And one of the reasons these kids struggle when they get out, because they're taught, they're very, very intelligent, but they don't understand about the mindset of resourcefulness and the ability to be able to make decisions quickly when you have to.
Dave, thank you for sharing that and for your transparency. I was actually envisioning you in the plane and just thinking, like, I felt these emotions coming up and I thought, oh my gosh, yes, structure, do this, do that. But yet the reality of it, the emotional component, it just was transported there with you. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Eric, over to you.
Yes. So, great to hear for the doctor and for Dave, and I'm the product. I am from New York, and I'm a product of parents that were teachers in the Board of Education, principals, school superintendents, dealing not only with mainstream kids, but also emotionally and mentally handicapped children. So from an early age, education was foremost and paramount. Now, what I was lucky because my parents, and here I am, like talking about the traditional, school, but number one, they taught me and my sister is to become independent, to make decisions for ourselves and to be in a situation. So I, at a young age, was traveled around the world, left home, went to, started getting into business at a very young age. But I also know one thing, and Dave said it, he says, young people today, they're not equipped, right? Like I have a daughter who's a hard worker. She's about to go to law school. But yesterday, with all the things that she knows, she says, I don't have food for my dog. Can you come and pick him up and bring him back to the house? Now, she lives in one part of Miami. I'm like, you know how to order Uber Eats, for God's sakes. Can you call Uber and deliver some dog food? So I think part of it is they can be resourceful when it suits them. And again, I think because of what's happened in the last few years, people are now in this gig economy. They're in the, I'm starting my own business. I went out, I live here in North Miami, Aventura, and then we went out to dinner on Friday, and we went to 2 restaurants and left because they said they couldn't serve us for an hour because nobody wants to work. So we've created so you look at the independent system that the doctor was talking about, it's old. Yeah, it doesn't, because the thinking is outside the lines. The thinking is coming up with creative solutions. And I have people on my team that are creative, and when I give them linear tasks, they're yelling at me. They're crying because they can't express their creativity, right, doctor? They're like, I'm putting them in the wrong place. But then I have other people that work for me are very happy to take 100 tasks, and that gives them a self of fulfillment. So part of it is, who are we talking to? And is that individual, are we helping them reach their full potential? And I think a lot of times, because do the assignment, do this. So I'm going to end with this. Yesterday, we're in a meeting, and one of the gentlemen that works with us, he said to me, he goes, he's a high-end design, not even designer, he's a strategist of building out, web design and customer experience. He says, I didn't even have a high school diploma. He says, I didn't want to go. He goes, I made them give me all the tests. I went in and one day took all the tests, aced my test, got my high school diploma. This guy gets paid multiple 6 figures to design people's systems. So was the educational system right for him? I don't know. Zuckerberg, Gates, all the Harvard guys, they all left early because it was about innovation and entrepreneurship, and they had the right mentors of people to help. And I want to end with this. Not everybody is set out to go to college, and not everybody has to go to college. Some people are not built that way. Some people are ready to go out in the world and work. Some people are going to be speakers. Some people are going to be the next inventors. So how do we help them reach their full potential now versus maybe being suppressed with, this is just, I have to go this rigid system because that's the way the world works. And we know we're living in a whole new world out there today. It's totally different.
Really good points. Thank you, Eric. Something that I just want to share as a result of this conversation. I don't have any children, and I did go through the structured system, the education system, getting the bachelor's, the master's, the doctorate, and then working in corporate, because that's what you do. You stay at the same job for a long time. And long story short, I retired 2 years ago from corporate, but there was an evolutionary shift, whereas I was calling on senior level executives that were in their 60s and in their 70s. And all of a sudden I'm going into major corporations and the decision makers in the 20s and didn't go to college. And I'm used to writing very long, verbose, big words. And I'm told, no, I need it shortened. I need it the size of a Twitter response. And so this is continuing to go on. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about how we all work together, regardless of what kind of education system we have. At the root, we're all human, but I grew up very differently than obviously your children are, correct? And yet we still have to work together and figure out how to make successful endeavors. So anybody want to jump in on that?
Can I jump in? Because this is a topic I talk about. Because one of the challenges I've seen, and one of the things that's helped me tremendously in my career, because I wasn't like you, Dr. Jack, I was in the corporate world 30 years, right? There was the pathway until all of a sudden the light comes on. It's like, you know what? There is a life out of corporate world. But one of the challenges, like you just said, is a lot of the people that I deal with now are in their 30s and 40s. They're younger, 20 years younger than I am. And so one of the things I really focus on and learn long ago now really focus on is everybody either communicates either visually, auditory, or kinesthetically. And one of the things I really focus on is immediately is how does that person communicate? And I ask them a question which identifies visual, or kinesthetic, and then I automatically go to that modality so I can have all of a sudden leverage and or relationship with that person. So yes, my one page thing gets all of a sudden down to maybe about 2 or 3 sentences, be very articulate, but now I'm either doing it visually, auditory, or kinesthetically. I think that's helped me tremendously, especially with millennials. they struggle because, like I said, they're extremely intelligent. They're lacking mission and purpose. You got to get to them pretty quick, and the only way to get to them is understand how they communicate. If you communicate in their modality, now you're at least relating to them at their level.
Yeah, it's so true. And, I just wanted to say something else. Having a 22-year-old daughter who I could never, ever get to, I'd say, come work with me. That was the biggest mistake. And she wanted to be a lawyer. So my cousin, who's a very successful lawyer, said, ask her point blank, does she want to be a lawyer or she just wants to have a law degree? And she said, no, I really want to be a lawyer. So he's like, even if you can afford to pay, he goes, make her take out a loan so she's got skin in the game. And I thought that was very interesting from a psychological nature, because I found my daughter is an overachiever, and I found now that she had some of the right guidance, she's now excelling. She just got hired for an NFT company assisting the attorney, and she wants to be an IP and art law. And it's funny because I said to my cousin, I said, this is what she wants to do. And he goes, well, she might not be able to get that. He came from the, you can't do it. And I came from the, well, I'm in the world of positive motivation. I have to give these kids the inspiration and hope. Why kill a 22-year-old's dream if it doesn't work out? For God's sake, she's 22. She's got her whole life to go back and say, well, I didn't try. And I think part of it is, I think the mindset of the young people today is what you said, Dr. JACALYN. It's the brevity. It's the experience. It's money's important, but it's having that experience is even more important than chasing money and turning it off. And so I just share that because it's different communication. I come from the up at 5 a.m., work till whatever time. That's what I've been told. It's beaten in you. They're like, oh, that's no fun. I don't want to. I want to be on TikTok. And my cousin, and I'll give it back the floor. My nephew decided to become a TikTok influencer, and he did nothing but put out content for a year. He took his grandmother, his mother, his the maids that work for his mother. They live in the Dominican Republic. He is one of the most famous TikTok people in the DR with 4.4 million followers. And now companies are going, we want to pay you because he created influence. So when you see that, you're like, why do I need to get a job? I had a young lady call me who's 36 yesterday say, I see 22-year-olds becoming millionaires. I've been a lost, missed generation because of this COVID, because they don't know. They're caught in the middle of that old school, new school. I kind of like it missed over me. And I'm 55 and I see it because I've had it with that of being in the world of seminars. So I just share this with you because it's just understanding who our person is and how do we make them tick so they can really reach their highest potential. And I think, Dave, as you said it, I just think we got to give them that leadership and that guidance and give them, oh, I got it. And then let them run as fast as they want. They may fall, but that's okay.
Well, I also think that, let me add another perspective to this, that, what often we do as, especially as parents, even as educators, so we tend to ask our children when they're very small as to what you want to become when you grow up. Do you want to become a doctor? Do you want to become an engineer? I mean, these are the cliched questions that we normally and usually ask our children. I think it is high time that we should actually reframe our questions and rephrase our questions. What if we start asking our children, think and tell me, what is that one problem that you would like to solve when you grow up? So the moment you start asking the children these kind of questions, automatically they start thinking, so they're not in that autopilot mode. They start thinking critically, and they look around themselves and they start thinking about the social issues, and they start thinking about a whole lot of other things apart from the cliched things that we would like them to comment on. So that is something which is very important. And again, I would like to, bring back the education system here, because the problem is, as parents, as educators, we tend to highlight on the fact that what the child is not able to do, rather than on the fact what the child is able to do. So what the child can't do is our focus, rather than what the child can do. Right from the childhood, actually, we tend to give them a lot of signals that it is so very important for you to come first in everything. be it in sports, be it in academics, be it in extracurricular activities. Well, you have to be in that rat race and you have to emerge as the winner. What we are actually forgetting is the fact that the two essential skill sets that are required to thrive in the 21st century volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous workforce happens to be collaboration and cooperation and not cutthroat competition. So we need to, introspect a lot. We need to self-reflect and come, we need to design a kind of a way in which we need to speak to these children in a completely different kind of a narrative. That is the need of the hour, not only from the perspective of an educator, but more so importantly as a parent.
Thank you, Doctor. Really good points you're all making. Eric, I just wanted to comment. We've interviewed a number of influencers here, and it's kind of mind-blowing because I think to myself, okay, I've got all my notebooks. I write everything down. Everything is on point. I've got to get all this stuff done. I made six figures my whole career until I left corporate. And now I'm thinking they take some pictures and some videos and I'm here killing myself. No days off, no vacation. It is very interesting, but yet I would still do it the same way that I'm doing it because I feel the value and the passion in it. So something I'd love for you to all just to give your points on is about homeschooling. I've seen that there's a number of places around the world where people are actually keeping their children at home. Do you think that there's value to taking them out of the formal education system, even though you're still integrating with whatever the criteria, whatever the books and the key learnings are that they're giving you? What do you think about that? Will that help the system?
Well, may I comment on this?
Sure, please.
So I think one of the positive offshoots of the global pandemic happens to be a kind of a realization for, in fact, all of us, that the real world, which is much beyond the confines of a fancy physical infrastructure of an educational institution, actually rewards those amply who can think out of the box and can carve their own path. Also, additionally, I feel that during the COVID times, during these periods of crisis, what we have all learned is that the world does not require mechanically trained minds. Minds which are loaded with facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. No, that is not what the world is looking out for. What the world wants are actually creative and innovative minds, minds which are capable of divergent thinking, minds which are capable of out-of-the-box ideation. That is what the world wants right now. So this is a kind of a realization which, due to the blessings of COVID, has actually dawned on all of us. Having said so, we have increasingly started to understand the limitations of a formal and too organized education system, which does more harm than use to the children. Because a kind of a system which only teaches our present generation to conform and to comply cannot be the system which can go ahead. It has to be a kind of a system which, stimulates within you an urge to innovate and to create, to think divergent thoughts. Because if you have to solve a real issue, or if you have to solve a real problem facing our entire world right now, you do not need conformity, you need divergent viewpoints. And essentially, if you get to see also, the basic fact that each and every human being is unique. So the problem is, in terms of human talents, we are all diverse, but our education system forces us to conform. So the education system has to be diverse instead of a compliant kind of a system. So in this regard, homeschooling, if the parents feel that, well, my children, they're not getting any kind of value from this formal education system, and they can learn even better if there is a personalized kind of a teaching learning ecosystem, well, they can just go ahead and do that. I mean, there's absolutely no harm in doing that.
Thank you, Doctor. Eric, Dave?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Dave.
Eric. Go ahead. Go ahead first. I'll no. Go ahead.
Okay. I was never homeschooled. Obviously, being the parents of educators in the Board of Education, obviously homeschool would have been quite an issue. I look at it two ways. If who is doing the teaching and the follow up, they're doing it on point for the yes, I think it's wonderful. If the kids are also having the ability to socialize, because what I've seen today in this generation is this lack of communication, this lack of socialization, the head in the phone all day, the standing next to each other, texting. Now, I don't know, because you're in an environment where you're controlling that environment 100%. Yes, I believe you can nurture children in a certain way to be those thinkers. I know even when my daughter would go into school, I would always instill certain values that, like you talked about, having hard work. She understands the value of hard work, but she also knows that, okay, I want to have this ability to be an entrepreneur and be my own person, but I need to do certain fundamental things consistently to get there. And so I believe that homeschooling is as a valuable tool as long as it's used correctly and that child is growing from it. The only negative I see, and I would say negative is not the right word, is, are they missing out on a socialization with peers being in that type of environment? And I guess for every kid, it's got to be a little bit different. Dave, I'll turn that to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Here's a couple of thoughts. Number one, about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity, before the pandemic, I should say, over 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to speak for a conference of basically homeschool kids on the western region of the United States. It's about 500-600 homeschool kids and their parents. It was very enlightening for me. Number one, they were not only very intelligent, but they asked better questions. They were more questioning me about my mind thought process about the plane and things that I was doing instead of the analytical. And they were very innovative in the questions. So that was number one. Number two, I learned that they had so many more experiences because their parents were traveling and taking them places and letting them go to Berlin and see the wall, letting them go to the Far East and see these things in person. So instead of reading about it in a book like we're taught about in school, they were actually going to Colonial Williamsburg and finding out what really happened. So, it really opened my eyes because I was not homeschooled. I went through the traditional schooling system, back in the 60s and 70s. But I was really encouraged and enlightened to see, number one, they were critical thinkers. They asked better questions than the kids that traditionally I get. And third, they had more experiences than even I had to this point in my life, which I thought was amazing because they now can draw, like we talked about, on the references that they would have, and when someone asked them a question, when I learned this, when I went to here, and now I really see why, they're struggling in whether it's in Liberia or wherever it may be. And it really opened my eyes and helped me as I go out and speak around the world, because that's one of the passions I have, is go to different cultures so I can now envision, so I can come home and tell my kids, it's like, you think you've got it bad. Let's talk about this young man over in Nigeria I just got the opportunity to meet. And so I think these kids, homeschooling, I think, is a definite option. And like Doctor said, during the pandemic, it's opened up that avenue for people to really explore that opportunity. And as we're finding out in the United States, I think the number's now up to 35% of the kids last year now back to homeschooling and out of the public school system.
I love this discussion. We could continue on. One thing I'd love to share in my perspective is I work with a number of millennials in terms of raising awareness for the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And I noticed that millennials and Gen Z, they are out there helping other people. And to your point, Dave, about traveling around the world, I know so many of them who have traveled different places and come back and they have this passion for helping other people. And MIKE ADEYEMO, who is backstage, he is one of these people. And I just love what it is he's doing. We're going to bring him out after we take a break. And I'd love for you to stay around. And if you don't have the time, please do come back. I'd love to interview you each individually because what you're doing is so significant and relevant. You each have to have your own show.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And Dr. JACALYN, you're here locally. We need to get together if you're in Boca.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great idea, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely great.
All right, we are going to take a look at a clip. It's called the Earthshot Prize, and I've played it before if you've ever seen our shows. I think it's really relevant. I want to thank Ian Pelham-Turner and Helena Shard from the UK for sharing this with us. We'll take a look, and then we'll be back with Mike.
Ours is a world of wonder. Every day it reminds us of its beauty. It touches us, teaches us, and astounds us. But it also warns us that what we throw away does not go away. That higher temperatures mean a lot more than longer summers. That we can no longer take life as we know it for granted. We are at a unique stage in our history. Never before have we had such an awareness of what we are doing to the planet. And never before have we had the power to do something about that.
Well, I'm an extremely social media friendly person, I would say. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. So even if anybody wants, they can also write to me on my personal email, which is meetingdrmukherjee@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. It's a pleasure. Dave, I'm going to spotlight you. And Eric, if you want to put your contact information in the private chat, that would be great.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you for having me, Dan. It's been honored to be with this esteemed panel. I made a promise back in 1997 to my mentor that I would not let the information and what he taught me die with me. And unfortunately, for 20 years, I didn't do anything with it. But so right now, my passion is to take what he taught me over that 13-year period, plus my 13 years with Tony, and teach 1 million people in the next 10 years. So I am looking for folks primarily of the millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, people who are looking to understand how can they find their mission? How can they find their purpose and understand these timeless lessons that have been out there for years, but how to understand them in a way that they can really impact them and compress the decades it takes to do something into days. So my mission is to help people be able to do that. And so whether it's corporations, I speak around the world. And lately, I haven't spoken around the world. Primarily, it's been domestically. But if someone looking for a speaker who wants to really talk about how they can get the mindset of success through turmoil, turning turmoil into triumph, please contact me at either Dave or DaveSandersonSpeaks.com or on LinkedIn at Dave Sanderson, and I'll be more than happy to respond and be loved to be able to help you to create your own flight plan for your future.
Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it. Eric, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. JACALYN. You know, we spend a lot of our time working with entrepreneurs, business owners, people that either want to get their message out there to the world, whether they want to share their story, whether it's through a speech or a book, or creating their own podcast, or getting on one of our stages and joining folks like Les Brown, Brian Tracy, or some of the other amazing folks who work with both live and virtual. So, you know, I welcome those folks who are really exploring I really want to get into the world of speaking. I need to use that to help leverage my business. Let me share you how we've done it. I've helped thousands of people do it and continue to do so daily. And we've created a whole new platform called Health, Wealth, and Self, combining anti-aging, wealth building, and the self-help market. And so anybody that has a great idea, I love to help entrepreneurs with strategy and innovation and helping get their message out there to the world. And I'll just leave you with this. It is a do-it-to-yourself project. You have to make a decision to achieve the things that you want. And there is nothing that's going to take away from hard work, focus, and concentration to make things happen. So to find out more about Champion Mindset and Eric Stoller, you can go to eric@championmindset.com for my email, or to our website at championmindsetevents.com to find out everything we do. And I also have my phone number available, as well as I am available on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me, I'm very available. We have an amazing team. And the last thing I'll leave you with, because I know we don't have time, is we just are launching our Metaverse Universe, which will be a 3D interactive experience that's literally going to be launching with our first event coming up in late March. So I want to thank you again for this opportunity. Such a pleasure to be on with Dave and Dr. Shauli and yourself, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you so much. And I look forward with you and Mike in the future.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. It's truly been an honor. And again, please do come back. I'll put up our link to join us again, usaglobaltv.com. We have between 15 and 22 live shows every week with all different topics. So you can just go there and pick whichever show resonates with you. And I'm happy to have you come back. So thanks again. We do have Mike. He's backstage. I'm going to be bringing him out. Mike, welcome to the program. Fingers crossed, Mike. There he is, Mike. Okay, Mike, while we have you, I'm going to spotlight you. Sorry that you missed the show. It was really great. But I want you to be able to... Yes, I want you to be able to share your message with our audience. Okay, well, that's a wrap for today, folks. Thank you again.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you, Dr. Shauli. Thank you, Dave Sanderson, Eric Stoller. It's absolutely, guys. It's amazing.
Well, we thank you as well. And do join us. We have another show coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern time. It's the Corner Bookstore, followed by the Film and Music Show. And then we end the day with the Wise Ones. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and subscribe so you can be aware of all of our programming and join us and engage with us. We will see you in just a little while when we come back. Thank you again to our guests. And I hope that you will come back and see me again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Networking sucks and people suck at it, but nothing gives me more life than walking around and talking to people in an audience and really being able to identify, okay, I see where you're having trouble, let's work on fixing it. How do you help them? How do you provide value? My goal is to give them those tools to be able to go out and tackle that fear. Anywhere there's coffee is where I'll be. So I bring candy a lot to my speaking engagements. Duh. Like, of course that makes sense. I'm a little unconventional.
Ashley was very knowledgeable.
Very entertaining.
I learned a few new things, and to me that's the key.
What do you want them to say? How do you want to be perceived? You're going to get the most direct, tactical tips and practical takeaways when it comes to networking. These two here are super important. You will remember once the conversation starts.
I love the tips that she gave out. I hate networking with a passion, so I feel like I can go to a meeting or event and not feel so uncomfortable.
When you're going to a presentation, you want to be educated. You also want to be entertained.
She was really fun and really personable, and everything she was saying was just very relatable.
She's got a lot of great ideas.
That will make you stand out so fast.
She comes across as someone that likes what they do and just doesn't try to sell you something.
Activity breeds results. If you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere.
Just made me want to start networking, which I never thought I'd say before.
A networking strategy that works for you.
That place. Those people.
We need to talk to you about your time growing up in St Leonard's Children's Home. 6 of your 8 housemates committed suicide, Mr. Connolly. I'm afraid I have to tell you that another child in your care home, Liam Carroll, has also recently taken his own life.
Jason. Andrew. I need to find some people.
I said get out! I've got to end them! Ah!
If you want to be spending the rest of your life in prison, boy, I'm happy to tell you what you need to know.